Hello, my name is Peter Doyle. I'm the Managing Director of Montem Resources Limited. We're listed on the ASX under ticker code MR1. Montem Resources is a coal development company operating in Calgary, Alberta. We have coking coal or steelmaking coal deposits there in the Crowsnest Pass, and we are in the process of transitioning one of our major assets, the Tent Mountain mine, from coal mining operations into a renewable green energy and green hydrogen production facility.
Peter, good to see you. Last time I saw the headline, I had to call you. We got to talk, okay? Because last time we spoke, you were a coal company that was having some issues at government level with regards to advancing the Tent Mountain project that you've got. Your solution to that seems to be, well, let's do a 180 volte fast and do something else instead. So what's happening?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. It's good to be back on with Crux. It's an interesting time for all of us in the world of coal mining and energy transition, and the company is simply diversifying our risk. We have a bunch of assets to the south of us here in Alberta. We own land. We own bodies of water, or we have bodies of water on our properties. And by virtue of the historic mining at the Tent Mountain project, we have a large body of water that is perched 300 metres above the valley floor, where there is a man-made series of structures there impounding the water. We looked at this project in 2019 as a pump hydro energy storage project. And earlier this year, as permitting got more and more difficult and more lengthy on our coal projects, the board decided to relook at the potential to transition Tent Mountain to a renewable energy project, essentially taking something that was going to start in year 15 of the mine life and bring it forward. Upon doing that, we had various consultants come and look at what we were designing. And one in particular came up with, why do you not add on a hydrogen electrolyser? You have the land, you have great access to infrastructure, railways, pipelines, high voltage electrical lines, and the highway. So as the hydrogen market evolves and grows and more customers become available, you're in a perfect position to capitalise on that. And we looked also at a wind farm to facilitate, in two ways, facilitate low-priced green renewable electricity to pump the water back up the hill for the pump hydro project, and also to supply the electrolyser. And very, very encouragingly, we've got a great relationship with the Piikani Nation, who are our nearest First Nation. We operate on their traditional territories, and we've agreed to investigate mutual benefits here. And the important thing for, I guess, investors to understand is that the Piikani Nation's reserves are right in the kind of the epicentre of where most of the wind farms in Alberta are. So they're perfectly positioned to potentially facilitate that wind power with us. We're really excited about it, Matt. It is a big change. We're moving through with the feasibility study on this project.
No one's going to argue with you about green hydrogen. The green thematic is everywhere. There'll be people jumping on the bandwagon. I get it, but I truly want to understand what went on, and accept that you're doing something to take control of a situation which had got out of control. But just to remind us, you were like I said, you've got a coal background, right? Glencore, big coal guy for the last 30 years. And you were building a project, well, a couple of projects here, Tent Mountain being the first one. You were halted in your tracks from advancing. What happened? Why have you had to take this? It's like this 180-degree view of the property.
Yep, sure. Look, we are not looking at it as a 180-degree change, right? So we had already established the potential for this to exist at this project, and we're merely looking, does it make better sense to do it now rather than at the end of the mine life? And really, that's a a decision that hasn't yet been made by virtue of it's still very unclear what the permitting sort of pathway and outcome of that pathway is here in Alberta. So we have two primary projects: the 10 Mountain Mine, an existing permitted licensed mine, short duration relative to the other mine, 15 years or 14 years of mining, just over 1 million tonnes per annum. The intention was to get that back into production as quickly as possible. And unfortunately for us, that has been a significant delay to that plan. And we were going to take dividends, take profits from that operation and deliver the much larger Chinook Project. We are still advancing the Chinook Project. It's important for people to understand that coal, or the majority of the coal at the Chinook Project, is freehold coal owned by Montem Resources and our shareholders, not by Alberta. That is also the case for the majority of the coal at 10 Mountain. We haven't given up on coal mining at 10 Mountain. We are merely assessing this project, bringing it forward in the timeline. And if it makes sense, by the time we finish a feasibility in 12 or so months' time, it should become very, very clear which project will win the investment.
Okay. So let me say. So okay, I appreciate that answer. It's honest, at least. You know, you're a cash constrained company too, right? So I think there was talk about a $5 million clean fuels program funding available to do this. Are you just doing it for the money, or can you deliver this? Have you done this before? I mean, like I said, I keep coming back to the fact that you're coal guys, and all of a sudden you're doing green hydrogen out of nowhere. So that's a big leap, isn't it? Yeah,
valid question. There's lots there. Look, I wouldn't say that we're cash constrained. We have very strong support from our shareholders, and it's publicly listed. That's one of the virtues of having a supportive, strong shareholder base who have been in contact with me, having seen this announcement, and remain extremely supportive, which is great. In terms of yes, you are right. Our DNA of the company, Glencore background, some of us tech background, some of us in terms of tech resources, great big mining company mindset. Well, miners are sophisticated engineers and scientists who design big projects and deliver them. And this is about big project delivery for the electricity, green hydrogen conversion. That's a very well-known and sophisticated, essentially, chemistry set. And the production of electricity from pump hydro is over 100 years old technology. So, and there are great big companies around the world who are true experts in this. All that said, the board recognises that we need specialist help with this. We have developed and now we are in the process of formalising a steering committee that will be headed by a very senior electricity professional here in Alberta. We expect to announce that person to the market in the next couple of days. He and his team will lead a small subject matter expert driven steering committee that will oversee the development of the program through the next phase, and at that point we'll make a decision as to which path we're going down.
So this is going to be built entirely around 10 Mountain. Do you want to explain exactly how it works, or do you want to leave that to someone more technical? I mean,
no, it's simply water flowing downhill, Matt. Really. We have a body of water, the very large body of water that filled the void from the previous mining operations, which ceased in the 1980s. This is a closed loop system. That water is distinctly different to the rest of the water in the system. It just is sitting there. Seasonal flows occur, of course, as the snow melts, but largely this body of water is just captured in this hole. It will flow down a series of pipelines into two turbines at the bottom of the hill. And the very exciting and distinct advantage 10 Mountain has is it's privately held land, and this body of water is 300 metres above the valley floor. So the system works by storing energy. So we will have to pump the water back up every day, and we release the water at high demand because it's an open wholesale network or open wholesale market, of electricity. People bid into the electricity pool in 5-minute increments, and you have wild swings of electricity price when the solar power is producing well and the wind is blowing. The price of electricity is low, and that is when we will pump the water back up the hill. When the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining, the price of electricity is high, and that is when we will deliver our electricity to the market. So it's actually a very big battery, and Alberta's got itself in a pretty unique situation right now. The government a few years ago decided to phase out all coal-fired power stations. That took out 30, or is in the process of removing around 30% of the baseload power. That is largely now being replaced by renewables, which, as I just described, are inherently intermittent. So the business case is simple engineering, or relatively simple engineering, of capturing the energy of water flowing downhill and pumping that water back up at a cheaper price. That provides green energy, both production and storage, and the hydrogen from the electrolyzer is a relatively simple physical and chemical transition of water into its molecules of hydrogen and oxygen. And the only real production coming out of that is water vapor and oxygen and hydrogen. So the hydrogen is green, and we believe capacity to build at least 100 megawatt electrolyzer, which could and should be the largest green hydrogen facility in North America by the time it's built. So look, it has awesome potential possibility, really quite impressive possibility, Matt. And that's why the board and I are very excited about it, and we're pushing this now through the full feasibility to be able to assess it in its entirety.
You're excited, the market's excited, and the green thematic. You're jumping on the green bandwagon, and it seems to be working for you. $5 million will get you so far. Are you going to have to come and dip into the market and raise money through the public markets?
Oh, look, right now we have enough money to fund this for the next phase that we're looking at, and the $5 million of funding from the federal government, we expect to receive confirmation of that next around about the end of first quarter next year. And that at that stage, we'll have a look at our cash balances then, Matt, and decide what we need to do.
Okay, so you have the perfect physical infrastructure. The topography is working in your favor. You've got water, you've got height, and you're going to put together an engineering project here. But that's of a certain size. 100 megawatts is one thing, but how do you then go and replicate this? Do you want to go and replicate this, or is it you're in some sort of holding pattern until something changes with the coal?
Yeah, no, interesting question. Look, our DNA is coal mining. The hard coking coal markets at the moment are at all-time highs. Like it is difficult to explain to laymen just how hot the current coal market is. And it's fascinating to be a participant in that, and Montem Resources is very much in the process of becoming a larger participant in that market. We understand that it may be a little complex for investors to understand. On one hand, we're looking at a green hydrogen project. On the other hand, I'm sitting here saying that we want to be exporting hard coking coal as soon as possible, and that remains very much in our focus. If you think of it another way, we're diversifying risk. There is potential for green hydrogen to replace hard coking coal in blast furnaces many, many decades out, and we're positioning for that. That's the first thing. Second thing is the larger incumbent producers of hard coking coal around the world, Teck Resources right next to us, are either unable or unwilling to produce more coal, and there is a constraint of supply, a really significant constraint of supply. We're hearing, the published prices right now around $400 out of Queensland, $500 to $600 out of East Coast US. We're hearing even higher prices from that out of Western Canada. It's quite an extraordinary time, and we want to get involved in that.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm almost too excited about what you just said. I want to close off the hydrogen thing. So, are you saying you're doing what you're doing to build up some credit with the provincial and federal government? Is that the only thing here, or can you make money from that project? Will you look to scale that project? Deal with that first.
Sure, no, we're not trying to get credit with anyone, Matt. We're trying to make money. By virtue of fact of making money, if we get credit with regulators, that's great. We don't ask for forgiveness of who we are and what we do at all. And we very much are looking at our asset base and trying to repurpose them. It makes perfect sense to do that as a business person, right? We are suffering unforeseen delays in getting these mines or this particular mine restarted, and we're looking to make money in a different fashion. That fashion is in vogue. People are excited by it. We are also excited by it, but we're driven by profits, and we want to make sure that we deliver a project there that both is good for investors and all the stakeholders. You know, the fact that the Bugani Nation are excited to be involved in this is great for us. You know, we've been fostering that relationship for a very long time, and we're encouraged by what they think. We had a big site visit up there a couple of weeks ago. We had some elders blessing the ground, and we had some council members, and they were all very excited about what we had to say.
Okay, so look, what you're saying is you are looking at ways to monetize the assets that you've got whilst you're waiting out this review process. That's what you're saying? You want to make money. Yeah, look, this is the best way to make money for now.
Correct. The review process is due to hand down their report to the government in November, and thereafter, the Albertan government will decide what they're going to do with their regulations for coal mining in Alberta. I stressed to you before that there is a fair bit of this coal that's behind my shoulder there that is not only under license to us, but we actually own that coal freehold. And, we're determined to mine that coal. If the pump hydro / green hydrogen project at Tent Mountain looks like a more feasible way to produce profits from those assets, then that's what we will do. In terms of coal mining itself, there's a lot of activity going on in M&A around the world, and we look forward to letting shareholders know a bit more about that in the near future.
Well, that's the bit that excites me. Okay, you talked about your DNA, your Glencore DNA, thinking big, behaving big. And we've talked before about your access to capital should you need it. I'm assuming, slightly tongue-in-cheek, you won't be looking for assets in Alberta.
No, we've been reviewing different assets around the world right now, Matt, as you'd imagine many coal companies are. You're right. Mark Lochtenberg, our chairman, was a former managing director of Glencore, has enormous capacity and capability to introduce new money into Montem, into our asset acquisition strategy. And look, we think that there are some great deals out there, and I got to be a little bit careful about how we talk about it, Matt, but let's just say we've been very busy.